Welcome to the Rise and Wander podcast, where we'll explore adventure, spirituality, and empowerment through the outdoors and beyond. Join me, Carla Amador, as we focus on topics around the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional benefits derived through the outdoors. You'll also hear inspiring stories, get educated, and more. Let's get started. This season's podcast is sponsored by Oboz Footwear, based out of Bozeman, Montana. I proudly wear my Oboz footwear for hiking, traveling, and more. They have many styles and options to choose from for all your winter and hiking needs. Looking for hiking boots, recovery shoes, or fast and light hikers? Look no further and check them out at obozfootwear.com. Welcome to the Rise and Wander podcast. I'm your host, Carla Amador, and I'm so excited to have you join me for series 3 of this podcast. Can you believe it? So this series is all about travel. And the reason why I chose this topic in particular is because it's played such a huge part in the evolution of my life, but also I think so important as you're thinking about getting outside and exploring the world through nature, especially. But there's so much more to travel that we're going to explore in this season of the podcast. So thank you for being here. I am going to try my best to make sure to go through as many topics as I can in this series to help you to be confident, to get out and actually go outside of possibly your comfort zone, book that next adventure, and say yes to travel and adventure and wandering. I want to start off by talking about my experience with travel and what inspired me to start traveling the world and how it's impacted not only my life, but I think it will impact yours. When I was a little kid, I remember daydreaming and thinking about my life and what that would look like and what a dream life would look like. And I was always a dreamer at heart, I think. I always had these great ideas. I always thought about having this incredibly rich life. And so I remember being in about middle school and thinking to myself what I wanted my life to look like. And that really encompassed me traveling. I always saw myself, for example, going somewhere like France or Italy and living in this little apartment and looking outside my window and just experiencing something different than what I knew. And that really was like an internal desire that I think I had. I didn't travel as a child. So I think there was always this thing within me that spoke to me that was like traveling is such a big part of living. And so I remember thinking to myself, I want to be my own boss and I want to travel the world. And I remember having that insight from a teenager and on. And then, as I've mentioned in previous podcast episodes, I had a child when I was 18. So a lot of those kind of dreams, I ended up achieving all of those things, but it didn't happen in the way I guess I thought I was going to experience life. And I think that's a big part of even this series is talking about traveling as a family. And I got to eventually do these things, but it just took time and it wasn't my timing. So I had my son and I would say didn't really travel a ton until he was a little bit older. I remember we went to Mexico and then there were some cruises we went on, followed, I believe, to the islands of the Bahamas. The family travel that we did was very different from the travel that I'm going to really be focusing on, but I am still going to talk about those important aspects of traveling with young kids and traveling as a family, traveling with a partner. So we will dive into all of that, also traveling solo. So I've kind of gone through this iteration of traveling in so many different periods of my life that I have a lot of information and wisdom to share with you who might be on one of those paths. As I mentioned, I had this vision when I was young of travel, and I really felt so motivated and inspired to see the world and to explore different things and to eat different foods. And so traveling as a family really allowed me to actually fulfill some of those dreams. And I remember we went on a trip to Europe and I got to have the experience of being in Venice and eating the pizza in Italy. And that was really wonderful. My son was a little bit older. That was great. Then I was going through this life transition, as I've talked about in other episodes. I was going through a divorce, and then travel looked very different at that time. I met someone who I ended up traveling with a ton, but then I also started solo traveling. And that was really powerful. A lot of those trips were dream places like Philippines and Thailand, or traveling also in a way that encompassed a lot of traveling locally, like a lot of road tripping, a lot of camping, backpacking. That really opened up a ton of other doors to travel, where travel didn't have to be this grand trip to go somewhere across the country, or didn't involve a flight, but really involved a car and being able to get into the car and go somewhere new and explore a new national park, explore a new area and region that I hadn't been to, or maybe go back to the same parks and explore other parts of the parks that I hadn't been to. We're going to talk about national parks travel and traveling locally. And as I was thinking about this episode, I looked up the definition of travel, and what I received was go from one place to another, typically over a distance of some length. I wanted to take a moment to thank this season's Rise and Wander podcast sponsor, REI. REI is the outdoor gear retailer of the 52 Hike Challenge. I've been a member since I started my 52 hikes in 2012, and they've helped outfit me for all things hiking and outdoors since then. Becoming a member has many perks like 10% back annually on eligible purchases, a satisfaction guarantee, which gives you up to a year to return any purchases you aren't satisfied with, free shipping in the US, and so much more. Please visit them at rei.com. Join me for a year of hiking in 2025 with the 52 Hike Challenge. Commit to your personal journey outdoors alongside a supportive community and make 2025 your year of hiking. Take your family, friends, furry pets on an adventure they'll always cherish. Plus, you'll gain the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional benefits derived through nature and hiking. Learn more and sign up at www.52hikechallenge.com. And see you on the trails. So travel doesn't have to just mean I'm getting into an airplane or a train. It means you're getting out and you're exploring something new, right? And it could look different for everyone. Don't let this idea that it doesn't count if I'm not flying across the sea or whatnot. It's really, what does travel mean to you? And I also looked up the definition of wanderer, because this podcast is Rise and Wander for, that exploration. And so the definition was to walk or move in a leisurely, casual, or aimless way. And so, yes, sometimes you're going to travel and you're going to have no plans possibly, and you will maybe just allow yourself for the flexibility of the magic of travel to unfold. And there's something really powerful about allowing yourself to travel in that way. And I've explored that more and more as I've gotten more comfortable in a lot of things within myself to allow for that space. And I always find that there's so many wonderful, magical things that happen when I just go with an open agenda with no real plan. And there's some magic to that as well. Yeah, at this point, it's been, I don't know, 20 years that I would say I've really been able to start my travel experience. I've learned so much. I've been to so many countries. I'm very thankful for those opportunities and experiences. And I want to share that with you and give you some wisdom and knowledge and help you on your own travel journey, your own experience, so that we can go through those questions you might have. And I'm really hoping that You're going to learn things on this podcast, like the impacts that travel can have in your life. Okay. I'm not just talking about the personal growth within yourself, but also all the cultures you're going to get to see and experience, all the friendships you might make while out traveling, how travel really is going to test you. It is going to test you. And traveling is not the easiest thing to do because there are going to be things that aren't going to go according to plan, or you're going to have to get up early to catch a flight somewhere else. And it's just like a lot of coordination. And there's an opportunity for such a wonderful education that I don't think you really can get anywhere else. You're going to get that education when you're out there. You're going to be at museums. You're going to be learning about why there's so much Portuguese ceramics when you're visiting a country that has nothing to do with, or you wouldn't think has anything to do with Portugal. So those are things that you'll learn along the way. Other things, you're going to be growing internally. It's going to test you. And it's such a great opportunity to do your own work when you're out there and to really truly just connect with people of the world and seeing that we really are the same. And I think that's been one of the most powerful gifts of travel that I've had, is being able to connect with others, to learn from others, and to really grow in friendship and connection and openness. And so I think it's just such a wonderful opportunity for each and every one of us. And there's so much more. I can't encompass it all. I also really do understand that traveling may feel a lot of times like, how am I going to do this financially? Or there's a million and one questions. And so sometimes we get paralysis analysis, and it seems like overwhelming and scary also, because it's like, what's going to happen when I'm out there, and not knowing how to start planning a trip and what the steps are. So it's my goal to help you and hold your hand through that process and give you that information so you feel empowered to actually start your journey traveling and exploring and getting out there and wandering. There are, of course, those fears and concerns that might come up. And I hope that this series will help you to calm those down and to know how to make those decisions so that you feel comfortable and safe going into this journey and basically getting that time to explore all of the possibilities. And then, of course, again, like, there's just so much to see in the world. This picture behind me is from the last trip I just came back from. This is Patagonia. This is Chile, Las Torres del Paine National Park, and was just stunning. And I remember sitting here and just weeping and having so much gratitude for the opportunity to see these places in magazine and then actually be there and to witness it for myself. There's so much gratitude and empowerment. And for me, on this last trip that I just came back from, it really reset my way of thinking, and it has taken me out of my day-to-day life. And it really gave me some different perspectives, whether it was within my business, allowing me to see possibilities and opportunities as I'm like walking through gift shops and looking at things and like thinking about other products that I could develop. And it gives me a space to take myself away from my day to day and allows me to feel more creative. I make wonderful friends and connections. There's so much more to it that is hard to put into words, but ultimately I think it's just super fulfilling within. And so I hope that you will learn so much and that you're going to be excited as I take you on this journey. So some things that I wanted to talk about and what you can expect this season. Of course, we're going to go through gear. We're going to talk about packing lists, some of my favorite gear items for travel, how to travel really minimally. And that episode is going to be great because I'm going to share some stories about that. And of course, there's planning and preparation tips that I will bring to the table in addition to safety concerns, budgeting, which is huge, the gifts of travel, the people you meet, traveling solo, traveling with the family, and so much more. And so those are some things that you can expect from the series and the upcoming episodes. So stay tuned. I hope that you're excited as I am and that you are able to share this with your family and friends and send this to someone that you think could benefit from learning about how to get ready for travel, how to get ready to explore, and to really feel confident in that. So we appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being here, and I'm excited. Let's get this adventure going. I'll see you in the next episode.